So what's going on with these new guys? Once upon a time, I told you BYU was a Big 12 contender. I talked about in, I guess, week 5 or 6, BYU being in the top 4 or 5 teams in the Big 12. That was by virtue of squads like Texas Tech, who had underwhelmed, and TCU had already dropped a couple, and Baylor had already dropped theirs. And, of course, those trends were a little different. TCU middled, Baylor dropped out, Texas Tech is better now. For BYU, it was, hey, you could be really good. For UCF, it was the same deal. When they went on the road and they beat Boise State, it was, oh, wow, John Rice Plumlee's impressed. Oh, Colton Boomer's so good. And we got to give value to college kickers. For Houston and Cincinnati, that Cincinnati win against Pitt was, wow, what if at least 3 of these 4 teams in the new Big 12 could be really good players? And then Houston beating UTSA, it was, oh, I know UTSA is not a power team, but man, if you've been paying attention to Jeff Traylor and the Roadrunners, that's a massive win. What if all 4 of these teams are ahead of schedule? And they were not. All 4 of BYU, Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati are in the bottom 5 of the Big 12. The only team down there to give them company is Baylor. In spots 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. 4 of those 5 are BYU, Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati. Now, the fun part, the good news, is that every one of those teams has at least 1 win in Big 12 play, even you, Cincinnati, going and beating Houston. But at 3-8 under Scott Satterfield, I preseason thought I was of the mind. I'll expose myself. Not that way. I'll expose myself. I was of the thought that the new teams would not struggle this mightily. I had 3 of them, BYU, Cincinnati, and UCF. I believe I had all 3 of those going to a bowl game this season, utilizing their non-conference schedule, where if you win 3 non-conference games and 3 conference games, you're 6-6, you go to a bowl. I believe that'd be the trajectory for these teams. But now, how much of this do we take as, give them time. They're making the jump to the Power 5. It's going to take them a little bit. Utah went through this. We saw TCU go through this. And then again, how much of it is, hey, wait a second. UCF said they had a national championship a couple of years ago. Oh, well, and BYU's been independent. They've been playing a lot of big teams. Though Cincinnati just went to the college football playoff. And Houston won double-digit games not that long ago under Dana Holgerson. And it wasn't much of an excuse then, right? Their recruiting was good, and they wanted to be Power 5, but now that they are, there's an excuse to get. You see what I'm saying? And for a BYU, where everybody's impressed, you went on the road and beat Arkansas. You kind of gave Kansas a run for its money. That Cincinnati win was fun, and then just bam. Since then, you've won 1 game. That home win, of course, at night against Texas Tech, and all the other games, aside from Oklahoma, have looked pretty bad. Why? At what point did something click? It wasn't the fact that the strength of schedule, the season schedule, got so much tougher. TCU's not that good. You lost 44-11. West Virginia lost to Houston. You lost 37-7. You were non-competitive. Iowa State was a home game. They lost to Ohio earlier this year. Yeah, they're a different team, but you lost 45-13. You've been non-competitive. BYU needs a win against Oklahoma State this week to save face. For UCF, maybe the one team that I can try to give a little bit of a free pass to in this conversation because they have looked so much better lately. They gave Kansas State a run for its money in that first Big 12 game, and I thought, okay, UCF now has the opportunity to still be a player despite this loss. Then they worse than crap the bet against Baylor. Lose by 30 to Kansas. Can't beat Oklahoma. You got a 1-score game against Baylor. 1-score game against Oklahoma. It was a win, but a 1-score game against Cincinnati, 1-score game against Texas Tech. I know it's a 2-score game against Kansas State and West Virginia, but you're squarely in those. You're at least in those. And you just can't win. Now, again, you've won 2 of the last 3, and you looked good enough against Texas Tech to get the win, but in the end, it was 1 blocked extra point away from you being the win. You're up 14-0. And you still couldn't do it. Again, never, always value the college kicker. The best college kickers can make a huge difference. UCF, you're the winner. If I had to give winners and losers for these new teams, UCF's a winner. And I think the other 3 might be losers. BYU is a loser because the downtrend was so sharp. They didn't just lose some tight ball games that were competitive and they tried hard and, you could see glimpses. There weren't glimpses. And you can't really say it's because of backup quarterback because now we've seen two starting quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel went out this week. So we've seen two starting quarterbacks play effectively every meaningful snap for their team this year. 2 out of 14 teams. Yeah. Everybody's dealing with the same backup quarterback stuff. It's been a terrible year to be a Big 12 quarterback. So you can't be like, oh, well, we had a backup there for a while. First Jewish backup or first Jewish quarterback in BYU. Saw that on game day. Downtrend, sharp downtrend. Houston, 4-7. You lost to Cincinnati. That was your one gimme. Cincinnati, 3-8 overall. Lost to Miami of Ohio. The jury is not decided that these 4 teams are not cut out for this. Obviously, it's just year one. Maybe I'm being too harsh and coming down on you too much. But for the new guys, there is one winner, and it's UCF, and they're not even that squarely of a winner. We won a national championship. We're going to dominate the Power 5. Maybe. Your recruiting's going well. Cincinnati's recruiting's going pretty well. But as of right now, oh, gosh, guys, that was a bad year. It was a bad year. And I had higher expectations. I thought the adjustment would not be as violent and bloody and gross for all of you. Weird. Coming up, Gary Patterson. Where's he going? Where's he going? This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Who is it? Your team? When is it? Every day. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is where I go to make money. Oh, buddy, you can go in, you can parlay a couple of, you parlay a couple of these, props. Yeah, player props. You just like Travis Kelce receptions and LeBron James rebounds, and then bam, money. You do like LeBron James plus Travis Kelce, 10.5 point combo, 3 points made in receptions. So it's 7 receptions for Travis Kelce, 4 3-pointers for LeBron, and bam, you hit it. Play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill, comedian Andrew Schultz. Find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries in some of the biggest names in Prize Picks community every week. They even offer a reboot policy if a player gets hurt in the first half in your big games. Nobody else does that. Nobody else does that. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Use code LockedOnCollege. Go make some money. You get a first deposit match. When you go to prizepicks.com, you use /LockedOnCollege. You get a first deposit match up to $100. That's right. PrizePicks.com /LockedOnCollege. Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy.